Hey everybody, I'm going to be doing something different today. I'm going to be reacting to some videos, and the first video is a video of Michael Shermer and Richard Dawkins talking about what we can know in quantum physics. Let's do it.
It is one answer, but when you go to the explanations for like quantum physics, like the double slit experiment and those sorts of things, the Copenhagen interpretation and the multiverse and all there's like 15 different theories there on the Wikipedia page. To me, this indicates that there's something wrong with the field, not wrong with it, but that there's some conceptual problem that hasn't been solved yet. And so none of these is emerging as probably the right one, and the rest of them are probably wrong.
I think our brains are not designed to understand the double slit experiment. I think there's no we have no right to expect necessarily that our brains are equipped to understand everything, and so we shouldn't necessarily be surprised that fundamental reality is ultimately strange to us, because our brains were shaped by natural selection to survive as medium-sized objects chasing other medium-sized objects at speeds much less than the speed of light, and so we simply our brains are not geared to understanding everything, and maybe that we can never understand. What I think is remarkable is how far we have got. I mean, it's astonishing that there are people in the world who, if they don't quite understand quantum theory, pretty close to it, how the human brain is so emergently powerful, given that it was only designed to survive and reproduce on the African savanna, is a pretty mysterious fact.
Okay, so this is the same point that Dawkins makes in his TED Talk, and it's a point that he's written about quite extensively over the years, and I think it's extraordinarily important. What did our brains evolve to do, and what did we evolve to do through natural selection? So we did not evolve to understand the physics of the very, very small or the very, very large. We evolved to understand what Dawkins terms the middle kingdom, the physics of the middle kingdom. So the fact that we can understand these things at all is fascinating. So in the beginning of that clip, Shermer was talking about, and if you don't know the work of Michael Shermer, his books have been absolutely influential on my intellectual development. I can't recommend them highly enough. At the beginning of that clip, Shermer says, perhaps there's something wrong. The field isn't advanced enough. We have different interpretations of the same phenomena. We look at a phenomena and then we make inferences from that phenomena. Dawkins is saying that we can do that at all and have some idea of some coherent interpretation of what's happening itself is rather extraordinary. That's one of the contributions Richard's made, is that he has brought the idea of biology to the understanding of physics and other phenomena. The other thing that Richard's written about, and that I believe that he mentions in his TED Talk as well, is could we train children from very young ages to understand the realm of the very, very small, quantum entanglement, double slit experiments, etc.? Or is it that we're kind of stale at this point and that it's just our understanding being so steeped in physics that we cannot? So I think that's a really good clip, and I think it's an important clip, and I think it's something worth reflecting upon. Okay, now here's something from Brett Hall. He's an Australian physics and epistemology educator. He disagrees with Richard and Michael, and we're going to hear it's a longer clip, but we're just going to take a piece of it.
The claim that people are universal explainers is a new one, and it's hard for people to get their head around. But what it means is that people can explain any physical phenomena that's out there. That's what our minds can do. It's built upon the universality of computation, which is a deep theory, a deep explanation, a deep fact about what the laws of physics are and what they say about matter. The universality of computation says that anything that happens out there in physical reality is itself computable. It just follows laws of physics because the laws of physics are themselves computable. And so therefore, whatever the thing is, whatever the motion of the particles out there, that can be represented in a computer. There can be a one-to-one correspondence between, specifically speaking, the motions of what's going on in the quantum computer and the motions of any physical thing out there in reality. In truth, you don't need a quantum computer. You can just have a classical computer, but the quantum computer makes things more efficient, if you like. Now, the human brain runs on a universal computer, that universal computer being the brain of the human being. The mind runs on the brain. Okay. The mind also has this capacity to explain stuff, and explaining is a certain kind of computation. How can that be so? Because anything the brain does is a certain kind of computation, because the motion of particles is a kind of computation, where you have initial conditions, the laws of physics, and then final conditions. That represents input, processing, and output when it comes to computation. That's what the brain is doing. The mind is doing a special kind of computation, which we call comprehending, understanding, or explaining. I regard these things as kind of synonyms. So that's humans, a certain kind of person. Anything that's out there can be comprehended or understood by us, explained by us, whatever the physical phenomena is. It can be on the other side of the universe.
This is important. This is an important distinction. Go ahead, Reed.
The go-to example is the quasar, a system so completely unlike the physics of the human mind that you couldn't think of two structures more different. The wetware of the brain and a black hole accreting material such that huge lobes of energy are shooting out gas and radiation in particular directions that outshine entire galaxies. This is a quasar. And yet the human mind can have inside of it a model of what's going on in that quasar on the other side of the universe. It's an astonishing fact about reality that this can happen. What's this got to do with the fact that we can understand anything? Who really tries to understand quasars? Astrophysicists. Why? Why was I a person who was born in such a way that I was interested in astrophysics? Not everyone is.
Okay, so this is important. So I respect Brett. So Brett, if you're listening to this and I got this wrong, let me know and I will correct it. So I think that the disconnect here is, well, let me take a step back. What is Hall saying? He's saying that the brain is a computational unit and the brain can apply the same tools in any kingdom to compute. There's no, you're just taking a look at naturalistic phenomena. Reading into that, you do that through observation and you do that through instrumentation. So we create instruments and we create tools to enable us to get more knowledge about different realms, the UV realm, infrared, etc. The problem I have with this, it's not debunking, but the problem that I have with this putative disagreement is, and this may seem overly pedantic if it is, it's not meant to be, is with the word understanding. So you can use the computer to get knowledge, the brain. You can use this to get knowledge through observation of the world, and then you can make inferences, reasonable inferences about things. You could even create math, or as the British say, maths, like Ramanujan did to figure out what happens in the inside of a black hole. But that's very different from understanding. So what Dawkins is saying is we didn't evolve to understand this. So how can a particle be in the same place at the same time? For example, if you're talking about quantum phenomenon. So we can have descriptions of these phenomena. We can capture that phenomena in language, but that doesn't mean we can understand it. We didn't evolve to understand it. Okay, so we're going to ask ChatGPT about this in a second. But before we do that, I just want to make just want to repeat something that I find so interesting. Can you train children to understand, not just know, but to understand, even though we didn't evolve to understand it, physics in different realms? I think it's an extremely interesting question. I guess you could look at it as an analog. Could you, just as you can explain certain technologies, certain programming languages, or children have a more plasticity, they can just take in and understand things or make connections better than we can. I don't know if that's possible with the physics of different kingdoms, but I think it's interesting. Okay, so let's run this through some of these ideas through ChatGPT using the Oxford physicist David Deutsch's book on infinity. Hello, ChatGPT. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's on your mind?
Give me a 45-second summary of the PDF that was just uploaded.
The Beginning of Infinity, Explanations that Transform the World by David Deutsch, explores the nature of knowledge and the limitless potential for progress through good explanations. Deutsch argues that all progress, whether in science, technology, or philosophy, stems from the quest for better explanations, which are theories that are hard to vary. He posits that the human mind, capable of universal computation, can understand any explanation given the right tools and effort. The book challenges the notion that some knowledge might be inherently beyond human comprehension, emphasizing that the pursuit of knowledge is unbounded and driven by creativity and critical thinking.
So Richard Dawkins gives the example of the water strider. Those are those little bugs that exist they like float effortlessly on the top of water. How can a human understand the water strider's epistemology? Or how can a human understand a dog's ability to smell in ways that are the minute differentiations between smells? How can a human understand that?
Humans can understand phenomena like the water strider's ability to float on water, or a dog's acute sense of smell through scientific inquiry and the development of explanatory theories. For the water strider, scientists study the physical properties of water, such as
No. How can a human understand not the physical properties of what it's like to float on water, but what it would be like to be that creature, what it would be like to be another creature? How can a human, according to David Deutsch, or possibly Brent Hall as well, how could a human understand that? Not know the physics of it, but understand it.
understanding what it's like to be another creature, such as a water strider, a dog, or a zebra, involves what philosophers call the phenomenal experience, or qualia, the subjective first-person perspective of another being. According to David Deutsch and the framework of his ideas, this kind of understanding can be approached through the development of detailed and accurate explanatory theories. David Deutsch emphasizes that while we may never fully experience another creature's subjective reality, we can create increasingly accurate models of their experiences. This involves 1. Empathy and imagination, using our own sensory experiences and emotions to empathize and imagine what it might be like for another creature. While this is limited, it provides a starting point. 2. Scientific study, investigating the biology and behavior of the creature. For example, understanding the sensory organs, nervous system, and brain function of a dog helps us infer how it processes smells. 3. Explanatory models, developing theories that explain not just the physical capabilities, but also the likely subjective experiences of these creatures. For instance, how the structure of a tiger's vision might influence what it sees and how it perceives its environment. Deutsch's view is that through this process, humans can get closer to understanding the experiences of other creatures. The more comprehensive and detailed our explanations, the better we can approximate what it might be like to be another being, even if we can never fully experience it ourselves. In summary, while we cannot directly experience what it is like to be another creature, we can use empathy, scientific investigation, and the creation of explanatory theories to approximate and understand their subjective experiences.
I think that's largely correct. My question is, as Richard Dawkins says, queerer than we can suppose. The universe could be queerer, could be more bizarre and unusual than we can imagine it to be, because we're limited by our evolutionary understanding. We're limited by evolution to what we can understand. How does that square with Deutsch's idea?
The idea that the universe might be queerer than we can suppose, as Richard Dawkins suggests, reflects the notion that our cognitive and sensory apparatus, shaped by evolutionary pressures, may limit our understanding of reality. This is an important consideration in the philosophy of science and epistemology. David Deutsch addresses this concern by emphasizing the concept of unbounded potential for knowledge. Here's how this idea squares with the evolutionary limitations. 1. Evolutionary constraints. It's true that our brains and senses evolved to handle specific survival tasks. This might suggest that there are aspects of reality that are fundamentally inaccessible to us because our cognitive tools were not designed to understand them.
Correct.
2. Expanding understanding. Deutsch argues that while our natural cognitive apparatus is limited, our ability to create explanatory knowledge is not. Through science and technology, we can extend our senses and cognitive capabilities. For example, we can't see ultraviolet light naturally, but we can build instruments that detect it and thus expand our understanding of the electromagnetic spectrum. 3. Universal explainer. The human mind is not just a passive receiver of sensory information, but an active generator of explanations. By creating theories, we can understand phenomena far beyond what our senses and basic intuitions might suggest. This process is potentially limitless because it relies on creativity and critical thinking, not just on the raw data provided by our senses. 4. Transcending evolutionary limits. While evolution shaped our initial cognitive framework, our minds are capable of transcending these limits through culture, education, and technology. For instance, we can understand quantum mechanics and relativity, which have no direct relevance to everyday survival, but are products of our ability to theorize and explain. 5. Continuous progress. The idea that the universe is
Hypothesize. Would it be more helpful for humans to understand the universe and queerer than we can suppose, as Dawkins says, in the universe, by developing better explanations and better theories and testing our hypotheses, or as Nick Bostrom says, improving our own intelligence to make a superintelligence? Hypothesize which would be the better path or avenue to understand the universe.
Hypothesizing about the best path to understanding the universe involves weighing the merits of improving human intelligence through natural cognitive development, better explanations, and scientific methods, versus enhancing our intelligence through the creation of superintelligence, as suggested by Nick
Our
Bostrom.
intelligence.
Path 1. Developing better explanations and theories. Human creativity and critical thinking. Deutsch argues that the power of human creativity and the ability to develop explanatory theories is essentially unbounded. By continually improving our theories and explanations, we can incrementally advance our understanding of the universe. 2. Sustainable progress. This path relies on the tried and true methods of scientific inquiry, critical thinking, and empirical testing. It emphasizes the continuous improvement of knowledge through iterative processes that have historically driven scientific progress. 3. Ethical and societal stability. Enhancing understanding through better theories avoids the ethical and societal challenges associated with superintelligence. It minimizes the risks of unintended consequences or misuse of enhanced intelligence technologies. Path 2. Creating superintelligence. 1. Accelerated problem solving. Superintelligence, as proposed by Bostrom, could dramatically speed up the pace of discovery and innovation. With vastly superior cognitive capabilities, a superintelligent entity could solve complex problems more quickly than human minds. 2. Handling complexity. Superintelligence could potentially understand and manage the complexities of the universe far beyond human capacity.
Is the problem with attempting to understand the universe through theory and explanation that the very thing in which one inquires alters or shapes what one finds? So one could be asking the wrong questions. And if that's true, aren't the questions we ask molded or shaped by culture and biology?
Yes, the problem you describe is a well-known challenge in epistemology and the philosophy of science. Here's a more detailed exploration of these ideas. Theory and explanation influence understanding. 1. Theory-laden observation. The concept that all observations are influenced by the theoretical framework within which they are made is well established. This idea, known as theory-ladenness, suggests that what we observe is shaped by the concepts and theories we hold, meaning our understanding is influenced by our pre-existing knowledge and assumptions. 2. Cultural and biological influences. The questions we ask and the frameworks we use to seek answers are indeed shaped by our cultural and biological backgrounds. Our evolutionary history determines some of our cognitive biases and perceptual capabilities, while our cultural context influences the paradigms and priorities of our inquiries. Asking the right questions. 1. Framework limitations. The frameworks within which we operate can limit the scope of our inquiries, potentially leading us to ask the wrong questions or to overlook important aspects of a phenomenon. This is a central concern.
Is asking the wrong questions a product or a feature of biology or of culture?
Asking the wrong questions can be influenced by both biology and culture, and here's how each plays a role. Biology. 1. Cognitive biases. Human brains are wired with certain cognitive biases that can influence.
I have settled on a simple test for judging claims, including Dennett's, to have explained the nature of consciousness or any other computational task. If you can't program it, you haven't understood it. If you can't program it, you haven't understood it. Explain that.
The statement, if you can't program it, you haven't understood it, reflects the idea that to truly understand a concept, especially in the realm of computational tasks or phenomena like consciousness, one must be able to translate that understanding into a precise and executable form, such as a computer program. Here's a breakdown of what this means. Clarity and precision. 1. Detailed understanding. Programming a concept requires a deep and detailed understanding of its components and their interactions. If you can create a program that replicates the behavior or phenomenon, it means you have thoroughly dissected and understood every part of it. 2. Avoiding ambiguity. Natural language explanations can be vague or ambiguous. Programming forces you.
So you've understood the physical phenomena, but not the epistemology. So you haven't understood, for example, dogs' differentiation of smells, but you can create something that can replicate the behavior of that organism. But it doesn't bring you closer to the epistemological understanding of the subjective experience of the organism. Is that correct?
You raise an important distinction between understanding a phenomenon in a physical or computational sense and understanding the subjective experiential aspect, what philosophers often refer to as the qualia, or the subjective experience of an organism. Computational replication versus epistemological understanding. 1. Computational replication. Creating a program or model that replicates the behavior of an organism, like DAL-E, differentiating smells, involves understanding the mechanisms and processes that underlie this behavior. This includes the sensory input, the neural processing, and the output behavior. 2. Subjective experience. However, replicating the behavior computationally does not necessarily mean we understand the subjective experience of the organism. For example, even if we can program a machine to differentiate smells like a dog, we do not necessarily understand what it is like to be a dog and experience those smells from its perspective. Physical phenomenon versus epistemology. Physical phenomenon. This involves the objective, measurable aspects of a process or behavior.
Is it reasonable to infer that the farther the organism is from a human, the more different its understanding of the world would be? A kind of application of standpoint epistemology to various species.
Yes, it is reasonable to infer that the farther an organism is from humans, in terms of its evolutionary lineage, physiology, and cognitive capacities, the more different its understanding and experience of the world would be.
How could technological art allow us to learn what it's like, as many philosophers such as David Deutsch have posited? How could technological art allow us to learn what it's like to be a bat?
Technological art has the potential to offer profound insights into what it might be like to be another being by using immersive and interactive technologies. Here are some ways in which technological art can facilitate this understanding. Virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR. 1. Immersive experiences. VR can create highly immersive environments that simulate sensory experiences of other beings. For example, VR could replicate the visual perception of a bee, which sees ultraviolet light, or the echolocation experience of a bat. 2. Sensory augmentation. AR can overlay additional sensory information onto the real world, allowing users to experience augmented senses.
Okay, so that we just played around with that. That was a little experiment. If you like that, let me know and we can do some more of those. I think it's a really important point what Shermer and Dawkins were talking about. The disconnect between David Deutsch and Dawkins, and I know those guys are buddies, but I'm not sure that the disconnect is an actual disconnect. It could be just a semantic disconnect over what understanding means, over the word understanding. So again, if you like that, if you want me to review some videos and such, let me know. If you want more kind of philosophical content, or if you want more broad commentary within my area of expertise, let me know and we can do that. And again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks for subscribing to the channel and supporting what we do. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This falls under the umbrella of my nonprofit, National Progress Alliance. Your generous donations keep us going and help fuel content like this. We truly appreciate your support. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.